Peace, family. Appreciate you for tuning into the show. Thank you very much for supporting the Melanated Roots YouTube channel. Please hit the like button to like the video so I can get the algorithm working in my favor. The name of this video is going to be Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. And for those that don't know, the Melanated Roots channel is designed to wake up our people, all melanated people of the earth, to wake up and to really see what is going on. And specifically the melanated people here in Turtle Island, known as the United States of America. We need to wake up to the true heritage and the true identity of the indigenous people of this country. Black people, or so-called black people, we're breaking down those misnomers and letting our people know that that's not how we should be referencing ourselves. We are not black, we're not African American, and we're not slaves from Africa. We are the indigenous people of this country. The melanated American Indians is who and what we are, and we have been lied to. And there's been an entire scheme set up for us not to understand and know who we are. And so that they can set up a de facto or fraudulent government and to bring over their banks and corporations to come over in this country and take control. And that's exactly what they've done. So just to let you know, that's what the Melanated Roots channel is all about. And so we're going to start tonight or today with the first episode of this series, where we're going to be walking down our ancestry, our heritage, and really exposing this de facto fake government for what it is. This is not the true and original government of this country. We, the so-called Black Americans, are the original people, so we got to get down to it. So we're going to get into a pretty good video tonight, and we're going to start with The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. So let's go ahead and start the process and start communicating with each other and see, hey, where this is going to lead us. But remember, family, truth is stranger than fiction. The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. We, the American people, have been grossly deceived about our true and lawful sovereign American national or state citizenship. Now, family, let me put a little hold there. So remember, I said at the beginning, there's two ways we're going to talk about this. You have immigrants, colonizers that have come over to our ancient land, and they feel like they have a starting point in which they started this country. Remember, we're speaking on behalf of the melanated indigenous people of this land. So where we're coming from is the land needs to come back to us. We ain't in sync with those white folks who do recognize that there's a game being played, but push everything back to their colonizing founding fathers. Nah, we're not doing that. We ain't giving them no credit. We pushing back to what was here prior to colonizers step on this land. And so when it says we the American people, we're talking about, from our standpoint, is the melanated people of that were originally on this land. So this has occurred through an onslaught of public policy and practice, government lies, deception and propaganda, public media and education, and bureaucratic threat, duress and coercion, and the manipulation of the political, economic, and legal system since the Civil War. And we really need to look at that deep right there. And I think that's where a lot of people are confused. We really need to go back to the Civil War, around that time, around the 1860s. We have to understand at that point, black people, so-called black people, is not under an allegiance to no particular government, especially after the Civil War was fought. Then they created U.S. citizenship, started playing some games with that, and then moved us over to the auspices of being under the direct control of the U.S. government. That was done after the 1860s. So we need to look at the Civil War, coming out of the Civil War. And with the Civil War, don't 100% believe what they told you the reason why the Civil War was fought. I'm personally have come to the understanding that Civil War was fought behind banks, bringing banks over onto this land. But for those who have a different understanding, put it down in the comment section and let's talk about it. If you know, slavery and all the other things that they say, we can talk about that. But we have to, I think melanated people have to understand the Civil War time frame and coming out of the Civil War, and they need to look at all the different legislations that occurred that brought about this current situation that we are now facing. And I think then we'll be able to open our eyes and see what's really going on. So if the government is moving its lips, they're lying. That's basically what everybody knows. If they're on TV talking to you, no matter how great they may look in a suit or how professional they think they may look in a suit, the government is coming into the TV moving its lips, they're lying. So we the people have been stripped naked of our sovereignty and our basic unalienable rights of self-determination guaranteed by the Declaration of Independence, the American Revolution, Articles of Confederation, and the Treaty of Paris with Great Britain. The limited authority and jurisdiction placed upon federal government via the Constitution for the United States and the Bill of Rights has been usurped and ignored. I'm in full agreement with that. If we ask ourselves truly, if we want to go somewhere to invoke our protections that we have and under the Articles of Confederation or the Treaty of Paris or the Constitution or Bill of Rights, where would we go? Where? Who's going to take our complaints and truly represent us the way we're supposed to be protected? We have to understand that something's going on in terms of these things being usurped and ignored, because let's speak about it. Where can you go to invoke your rights underneath these protections? I really would like to know that. So unless we the people wake up from a long, deep sleep, these powerful instruments of American law, our protectors of freedom and liberty, will be banished forever from our homeland. Americans may wake up one day soon homeless in the land of their forefathers. Now, again, family, we know that they're speaking about their forefathers. We're talking about the melanated people, and this is our land from the beginning. So we supersede what they're talking about, but what they are talking about is actually happening. They're waking up where banks are foreclosing, taking their land. The government is growing, being more aggressive and harsher. White Americans who thought they were the cream of the crop are now waking up homeless due to the same things that the entire world is suffering from. So we the people are caught in the crossfire of a global assault on the sovereignty of both citizens and the law of nations. The casualties of this assault are our freedoms, property rights, due process of the law, basic unalienable rights for all people, and our beloved country, the United States of America. So our freedoms, definitely, they say that we live in the country of the free, land of the free. When we see that that can't be true, when you look at the prison system, they're constantly bringing people into the system, holding on to them for long periods of time, sending them into incarceration or out into the community, incarcerated through probation in some way, shape, or form. So we see that the freedoms are definitely being lost. Property rights, you really don't have any property rights. A lot of people would really be shocked to understand that they truly don't even understand any property that own any property that they have, whether it be a car, whether it be a house. Both of these things are bifurcated and have duplicate titles. And the actual ownership title is at the county or the state municipality. And you have the equitable title, which enables you to sell, get rid of it, or do whatever you choose. But you always have to register it and bring it back to them, because the manufacturing, the MSA is sent to them because they're the owners. And because of the U.S. citizenship, you can't be a U.S. citizen can't own certain property. If you don't understand that, or if you want to talk about that deeper, make a comment in the comment section. So An invisible and in secret war is being waged against the United States of America for the benefit of elite aristocracy and consortium of international bankers bent on attaining global empire at the expense of the American people and all the citizens of the world. America is at risk of losing its cherished freedoms and becoming a tyrannical, totalitarian, high technology police state. We all see that. Cameras everywhere, even tricking homeowners to get cameras. You know, oh, somebody's gonna kick in your door. You need a ring, when it's just really pulling and plugging everybody into the network, the matrix. So our government is arrogant with power and forgetful of its responsibility to serve the American people. The government has stepped up its continued assault upon the people through litigation, foreclosures, forfeitures of property, and the so-called war on crime and drugs. We already know how serious that is. Look at the foreclosures. Look what happened in 2008. They took everybody's home, put them back on the market, resold them, and a lot of corporations bought them and now renting them back to the people at extensive high rates. Forfeitures of property. The government is the best at taking property from the American people. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the government takes at least $5-6 billion of dollars worth of property from the American people on a yearly basis, is what it says. So that is exactly what they do. This false idea that the government is bringing freedom. No, the government is keeping people at a certain level where they have minions out there working and bringing that money home to daddy. So we see that the forfeitures of property and the so-called war on crime and drugs basically is just a fluke to execute a particular game that they're running against the people. So the government is bankrupt politically, morally, and economically, and has not been honest in disclosing the consequences of its spending policies and priorities. They're just basically being dishonest, and they don't want us to know and understand what's really going on. So thus, we the people are on the brink of an economic and political disaster. We the American people are the political, economic prisoners of a foreign, sovereign, invisible power structure operating through corporate, federal, state, and local governments, the Federal Reserve Bank and its foreign principals, and domestic and foreign corporations. That's what we have become enslaved to. They don't want us to know anything. They don't want us to understand anything. Just think about it, that the average person who grows up in this country and is educated in the public school system graduates without knowing anything about law and without knowing anything about financing. So you're easily taken advantage of in these areas when it comes to loans, mortgages, financing, when it comes to law, how to protect yourself, how to utilize the law in your favor. They make sure that you are unaware of these things. Matter of fact, I can even push it further. You can graduate from college with a master's and not know these things. When it comes to law and banking and the true mechanics of banking and money making. You may not even understand those things, and you'd be 50, 60 years old and with a PhD and don't really understand the games that they're playing. So we the people have a gut feeling that something is terribly wrong, a discontent and anger that indicates the extent of the exploitation, domination, and control to which we are subject, yet are often at a loss to either articulate or comprehend what is in fact occurring. The nature of the oppression is mostly invisible, legal, and economic. We the people are being taxed to death and indebted into economic slavery by individuals and institutions that have no moral or lawful authority under the American system of the law. They don't even have the authority to do a lot of the things that they're doing. And he's specifically saying that we're being taxed to death and indebted into an economic slavery. We keep looking at the physical thing, that if a person isn't physically holding you, then you're not in a slavery. You can do as you choose. No, there's a certain thing as an open air prison where you can move about, but the control mechanisms maintain that economic slavery in place. That social security number over your forehead is a mechanism that controls you wherever you go. That is the slavery. So they can, they fumble through your pockets, take out what they want, and hand you the rest. If that isn't the highest level of slavery, tell me where to meet you and go through your pockets and take what I want, and I'll be there in a heartbeat. So, that's where the slavery is coming from. And the bigger possession is they don't even want us to even know and understand what's going on. And so when we start getting an inkling of what's going on, let's pay attention to the type of games that they'll play.
We are in a period where conspiracy theory is flourishing.
There has been an explosion of conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theorists are having a field day.
It's like Christmas for conspiracy theorists.
Countless conspiracy theories.
It feels like there's more of this out there than there has been.
Why are there so many of these people?
Conspiracy theories are a great American pastime, and not all of them are on the right. There's plenty on the left as well.
They could be from the far left, they could be from the far right, they could have unconventional, deranged theories.
They had very much gone down the kind of rabbit hole of conspiracy thinking, all kinds of ideas, the world is not as it seems, and so on. That's a very American preoccupation.
Conspiracy theories are not new.
Conspiracy theories have been woven into the fabric of American society since before the signing of the Constitution.
A lot of these conspiracy theories have a presence, or at least a grudging acceptance, within the political mainstream.
It's out there. It's become part of pop culture now.
I see the pretty mainstream conservative media really flirting with these folks and maybe starting to mainstream some of this craziness, so we maybe won't be able to ignore it.
Wingnuts, how the lunatic fringe is hijacking America.
The fringe has become the center. The Republican chairman of Homeland Security is writing conspiracy theory letters, and they're convening conspiracy theory hearings, and Republican senators are introducing conspiracy theory legislation.
You have politicians who are, repeating conspiracy theories, who are advocating conspiracy theories.
The most influential conservative media online is full-on embracing the conspiracy theorists.
Every conspiracy theory are all coming together, and they've created this narrative, but it's all out of their talk radio base. It's all out of their right-wing online base, and they've now converged on Congress, and they've pulled them into the conspiracy theorizing too. It's brilliant.
Reality has been subsumed into a conspiracy theory.
Yes, like I said, family, they don't want you to question anything. They just do not want you to start thinking for ourselves and start raising up to a higher level of consciousness, which is there, to start questioning and pulling back the veil. You know what I'm saying? And all the things that they present to us, start asking questions about it. They don't want that to happen. So that's where they'll make it seem like any inquiry into things that they do, which are beyond weird, which are beyond atrocious, which are beyond satanic. You know what I'm saying? If there is a such thing, the things that they do. But if you start questioning that, now they got all kind of ideas to make you look bad, all kind of ways to make you look crazy. And they love to throw that conspiracy out there just when you start to read about the Pope and say, you start reading about other things. You say, and then you start asking questions. Now the conspiracy. So now they have to hit you with that propaganda. And family, we have to know that Barack Obama just legislated that the United States government can propagandize the people. There was a period of time in the American system where you could not. It was illegal to use propaganda against the government, against their own American citizens. But Barack Obama signed the legislation because he wanted to compete with the propaganda of other countries. So he signed the legislation to say it's okay to propagandize the American people. So that's what you just seen in that video, is make sure that anything questioning, you better get off of it. These founding fathers are so great, and that's what it is. That's what they want you to do. So the American people have been systematically robbed and bankrupt by special interests and public officials that profit immensely from political and legal systems that put into place to serve their ends. Laws are passed by the power structure and for the power structure. We, the American people, are taxed without representation by federal, state and local governments that no longer serve our best interests. Instead, they perpetuate and protect their own unlimited growth at our expense. Our military is presently under the command of foreign powers intent on creating new world order, a one world government and world army through the militarization of the United Nations. A treaty signed by former President George Bush places the assessment and collection of all taxes, even local property taxes, under UN auspices and sets up an international enforcement court and an international data bank. You already know data is a huge thing nowadays. They're taking data in every which way they can. So you know they have an international data bank. That shouldn't even be surprising. Like Mark Twain said, it could probably be shown by facts and figures that there is no distinctly Native American criminal class except Congress. So I wouldn't put, I guess they could be Native, but Congress, what he's saying, they're the only crooks. The people that we send to Washington to represent us, so-called represent us in this de facto government, they're just crooks. And they're just writing bills that further keep the elite class in power and subject the rest of the people. And yet they got a whole group of people thinking politics is our solution to the problem. As Black folks, that's the last thing, or melanated people, excuse me, the last thing we should be thinking is that politics is somehow going to work in our favor unless we, pull together and be able to control our politics with the dollar in the correct way. Any other way than that, that's not even going to work. But it's just foolish to think politics is going to do that. So we, the people, have been programmed, conditioned, and educated to see, feel, think, and act socially and politically correct. Political correctness is social programming promulgated by the traditional left. Don't ask, don't speak, don't dissent. It corresponds perfectly with the religious fundamentalist programming of the traditional right. So the left and the right both are mind-numbing, mind-controlling propaganda machines. That's what the Democrat and Republicans are, dividing people one way or another, but they're just opposites of the same coin. So they're just working in alignment with a global design and strategy that's so subtle, so invisible, yet so pervasive that very few of our best intellects have broken the veil. And so I'm going to share this video with you real quick, family, that shows what I'm talking about in terms of very few people really know about this global design and strategy that is so subtle. Let's check it out.
One of the darkest words in the language of man. Yet there is hardly a single page of history that doesn't partially reveal the deadly eye of conspiracy at work. It was a conspiracy that directed Brutus against Caesar in the Roman Senate on the Ides of March. It was a conspiracy that plotted the betrayal of West Point by Benedict Arnold during the American Revolution. It was a conspiracy that led John Wilkes Booth to the assassination of President Lincoln on Good Friday, 1865. The past record of man is burdened with accounts of assassinations, secret combines, palace plots, and betrayals in war. The tenet of conspiracy has been a dominant force in all history. But in spite of this clear record, an amazing number of people have begun to scoff at the possibility of conspiracy at work today. They dismiss such an idea merely as a conspiratorial view of history. The purpose of this presentation is to show that the conspiratorial view of history, particularly of recent history, is the correct view. That there is a secret and powerful combine at work today, that it constitutes the unseen government of the United States, and that it properly can be identified as the capitalist conspiracy.
Yes, sir. The capitalist conspiracy. And that's what it is. I think we as a people have to understand that the controlling thing behind this is the money changers. That's what remember, that's the one time you've seen Jesus, I'm doing air quotes, in the Bible getting upset. He's when he overturned the tables, is he talking about the money changers. So these money changers, these banks coming onto our ancient land and eating and creating debt, putting everybody in debt, creating money out of thin air and then loaning it out at interest, usury. That's where the beginning of all of it starts, and is still the controlling arm. If you look at the problem or the things that make life difficult, it's gonna take you back to the banks if you look hard enough. And all the things that are going on, the wars, the transgender, fluid genderism, all kind of these different things. All these things are being funded by banks. Churches not standing up, standing strong, doing what they're supposed to do in our community, speaking against the government when they're wrong. They can't do that. No. Their money is coming from the government. That's a 401c3. They tell you that there's a separation between the government and church and state when the church is sanctioned by the government through their 401c3. And they sign certain agreements. Anyway, I'm not even gonna get with that. It's going too far, but we have to understand that is what's going on. It's these banks, and everything start with the banks, because the banks control the politicians, the banks control Congress, the banks control all the businesses. You can't have a business without a loan from a bank. So we know we're dealing with these banking cabals. So our flag waving, hallowed patriotism often doesn't reflect the actual realities of America today, as much as it worships the hollow, superficial, and mythological symbols of our past. Most Americans still believe we are living in a free country under a free enterprise system. Most Americans still trust and expect big government to take care of them and believe that the government is well-meaning and good. Yet we all know there is no free lunch, and just boy, don't we know that there ain't no free lunch. We the people receive small fragments of crucial news and information from the mainstream media, about 1% of the facts, but have begun to rely and to comprehend American history, law, economics, and politics as a whole system. Without the whole global picture, we the people are hopelessly enslaved. We must break through this veil of deception and lies. We must speak the truth, whatever the cost. We must take effective actions in unison to affect change. We must create alternatives to the New World Order. And we have to go hone in on that. I think melanated people, we have to take our destiny into our own hands. We're asking, waiting for a government to do something right by us, another group of people to have some level of morality, reparations, give us some money or this or that. Hey, if that's what you're into, cool. I believe we as a people have the ability to create whatever we want as long as we're united and come together. And when I say united, it doesn't necessarily have to be on one spiritual accord. You know, people can have their different spiritual understanding and or beliefs if people choose to have those. That's not really that huge of a deal. We need to have economic unity and cooperation first, and then we can move on to other things if that be the case. So without the global picture, we the people are helplessly enslaved. So we must break through these lies. We got to break through it. So we must come together as a new nation, more of our melanated nation, and rediscover our people, regardless of race, creed, sex, or color, or I should say colorism. This is our vision of rediscovering America, our version of it as melanated people. This is uncommon sense. So it is incredible how as soon as people become subject, it promptly fails into such complete forgetfulness. I apologize. It promptly falls into such complete forgetfulness of its freedom that it can hardly be roused to the point of regaining it. obeying so easily and willingly that one is led to say that this people has not so much lost its liberty as won its enslavement. And that's pretty much what is going down, that we have become subject to these people and forgetful of what we once were as a people and that which we've come from and the freedom that our ancestors experienced on this planet, where they weren't trapped up under a tyrannical government. So we've gotten so comfortable that we've been roused to the point to where it is even hard to go rouse up brothers and sisters, say, come on, y'all, let's get it going. Our babies need this. We are the change that we're looking for, but we've lost our concept of freedom, sovereignty, and understanding of who we are. We're getting up and going to get a job and having a material Cadillac or a material house. These things are sufficient. So this people has not so much lost its liberty as won its enslavement. So I got another video we're going to go into that explains this secret society moving through the banking system and bringing this society to this point where everybody's got a social security number, birth certificate, things that they track and control. So we're going to get into this other video and continue to see how deep the rabbit goes.
In 1963, the nation was held spellbound by the testimony of gangster Joe Valachi as he exposed the inside workings of the international crime syndicate known as the Cosa Nostra, or the Mafia. No matter how carefully criminal conspiracies are organized, eventually they're exposed because someone on the inside goes to the authorities and talks. The same is true with political conspiracies. For instance, over the years, there has been a steady stream of defectors from the communist apparatus, and through their testimony, we now have a clear idea of how that conspiracy is organized and operated. But one large piece of the puzzle always has been missing. It's a matter of record that some of the greatest help to world communism often has come from prominent and respectable leaders within the United States. Obviously, these men are not communists. As a matter of fact, most of them are extremely wealthy and are thought of as capitalists who supposedly would have the most to lose under socialism and communism. And yet the record is disturbingly consistent, and Americans repeatedly have asked why. Why have some of the richest people in the United States, both in and outside of government, aligned themselves with leftist policies that would appear to be the path to their own destruction? And if there is a conspiracy at work among these men, why hasn't someone on the inside exposed it? The answer is, someone has. Dr. Carroll Quigley is a professor of history at Georgetown University. He is the author of the widely used textbook, Evolution of Civilization. He is a member of the editorial board of the monthly periodical, Current History. He has been a frequent lecturer and consultant for such groups as the Industrial College of the Armed Forces, the Brookings Institution, the U.S. Naval Weapons Laboratory, the Naval College, the Smithsonian Institute, and the State Department. Dr. Quigley also has been closely associated with many of the family dynasties of the super-rich. He is, by his own boast, an insider with a front-row view of the world's money power structure. When Dr. Quigley wrote this 1,300-page book of dry history entitled Tragedy and Hope, it was obvious that it would never be read by the masses. It was intended for the intellectual elite. And to such a select readership, Dr. Quigley cautiously exposed one of the best-kept secrets of all time. But he also made it quite clear that he was an extremely friendly apologist for this group, and that he fully supports their goals and purposes. On page 950, Dr. Quigley says, "I know of the operations of this network because I have studied it for 20 years and was permitted for 2 years in the early 1960s to examine its papers and secret records. I have no aversion to it or to most of its aims, and have for much of my life been close to it and to many of its instruments. In general, my chief difference of opinion is that it wishes to remain unknown." Dr. Quigley points out that during the past 200 years, while the peoples of the world gradually were winning their political freedom from monarchies, the major banking families of the world were nullifying the trend toward representative government by setting up new dynasties of political control, but behind the scenes, in the form of international financial combines. These banking dynasties had learned that all governments, whether they be monarchies or democracies, must borrow money in times of emergency, and that by providing such funds from their own private resources, with strings attached, of course, gradually they could bring both kings and democratic leaders under their control. Dr. Quigley believes that people should be more familiar with the identities of these clever banking dynasties. They include such names as Baring, Hambros, Lazard, Erlanger, Warburg, Schroeder, Seligman, the Spires, Mirabeau, Mallet, Fold, and above all, Rothschild and Morgan. It should be noted that while the Rothschilds and other Jewish families cooperated together in these ventures, this was by no means a Jewish monopoly, as some have alleged. Men of finance of many nationalities and many religious and non-religious backgrounds collaborated together to create this superstructure of hidden power. Its essence was not race, nor religion, nor nationality. It was simply a passion for control over other human beings. Dr. Quigley identifies this group simply as the international bankers. These are not the same as the local commercial bankers with whom we deal in everyday life. International bankers deal not with the general public, but with the industrial giants of the world, with other financial institutions, and especially with governments. The key to their success has been to control and manipulate the money system of a nation, while letting it appear to be controlled by the government. The net effect is to create money out of nothing, lend it to the government, and then collect interest on it. A rather profitable transaction, to say the least.
Yes, family. So you see how, they definitely have put it together, and they have bloodlines of families that continue the same game moving forward and looking for ways to refine it and make it better and stronger, while they got the masses of people believing in democracy, and they're just strategically utilizing technology, weapons, and all the things and tools at their disposal to make sure they have a stranglehold on you. So, in summary, the power of sovereignty is based upon the inherent nature of the free individual. Great Creator sent us all here as free individuals. We are not meant to be minions or debt or economic slaves to any government or municipality. Sovereignty is the source of authority from which all laws and governments arise. Ecclesiastical laws is the source of government laws and all laws for the most part. So that's where the sovereignty, is the authority from which everything arises from. So we must make sure we have it and live according to it. It is based upon the action of individual being supreme. That it is the case. This is your life. It has been given to you. It's been given to me for us to be able to live it, make the choices, the pursuit of happiness, not be forced into economic slavery, and so that they can send money around the world and guns around the world to kill and maim and destroy. That's not what we're here for. So we as a melanated people need to step up and walk in our purpose. So sovereign, it is a gift that you choose to give yourself. A free mind has to have free thoughts. You can't have a free mind without free thoughts. So family, we got to recognize and really see who we are as the indigenous people of this country, and we got to come together. So we're going to move to our next video. We're going to get out of here. I thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. You have any comments that will feed the conversation, or something that I said that may make you want to discuss it and communicate about it, go ahead, hit it down in the comments, and let's get a conversation going. So please like the video, Subscribe to the channel. We are the salt of the earth. We come from melanated roots, and that's what it is. Peace, family. We'll see you on the next one.